Constitution. Let's listen to him.
That were good enough for us during the Clinton impeachment, but seem to have changed dramatically in the current situation. The criteria that have been set out are so lawless, they basically paraphrase Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who said, there is no law. Anything the House wants to do to impeach is impeachable. That's what's happened today. That places the House of Representatives above the law. We've heard much about no one's above the law. The House of Representatives is not above the law. They may not use the Maxine Waters. Gerald Ford made the same point, but it was about the impeachment of a judge. Judges are different. There are many of them. There's only one president. But to use that criteria, that it's whatever the House says it is, whatever the Senate says it is, turns those bodies into lawless bodies in violation of the intent of the framers. Manager Schiff confused my argument when he talked about intent and motive. You've said I'm not a constitutional law, but you admitted I'm a criminal lawyer, and I've taught criminal law for 50 years at Harvard. And there's an enormous distinction between intent and motive. Somebody shoots somebody, the intent is that when you pull the trigger, you know a bullet will leave and will hit somebody and they kill them. That is the intent to kill. Motive could be revenge, it could be money. It almost never is taken into consideration except in extreme cases. There are cases where motive counts. But let's consider a hypothetical growing out of the situation that we've discussed. Let's assume that President Obama had been told by his advisors that it really is important to send lethal weapons to the Ukraine. But then he gets a call from his pollster and his political advisor who says, we know it's in the national interest to send lethal weapons to the Ukraine, but we're telling you that the left wing of your party is really going to give you a hard time if you start selling lethal weapons and getting into a lethal war, potentially with Russia. Would anybody here suggest that was impeachable? Or let's assume President Obama said, I promised to bomb Syria if they had chemical weapons, but I'm now told by my pollsters that bombing Syria would hurt my electoral chances. Certainly not impeachable at all. So let me apply that to the current situation. As you know, I said previously, there are three levels of possible motive. One is, the motive is pure. Only interest is in the way, what's good for the country. In the real world, that rarely happens. The other one is the motive is completely corrupt. I want money, kickback. But then there's the third one that's so complicated and that's often misunderstood. When you have a mixed motive, a motive in which you think you're doing good for the country, but you're also doing good for yourself. You're doing good for me, you're doing good for thee, you're doing good, and you all together put it in a bundle in which you're satisfied that you're doing absolutely the right thing. Let me give you a perfect example of that from the case. The argument has been made that the President of the United States only became interested in corruption when he learned that Joe Biden was running for a president. Let's assume, hypothetically, that the president was in his second term. And he said to himself, you know, Joe Biden's running for president. I really should now get concerned about whether his son is corrupt. Because he's not only a candidate, and he's not running against me, I'm finished with my term, but he could be the president of the United States. And if he's the president of the United States and he has a corrupt son, the fact that he's announced his candidacy is a very good reason for upping the interest in his son. If he wasn't running for president, he's a has-been. He's the former vice president of the United States. Okay, big deal. But if he's running for president, that's an enormous big deal. So the difference the House managers would make is whether the president's in his first term or his second term. Whether he's running for re-election or not running for re-election. I think they would have to concede that he was not running for re-election. This would not be a corrupt motive, or it would be a mixed motive, but leaning on the side of national interest. If he is running for re-election, suddenly that turns it into an impeachable. Thank you. Thank you, counsel.
Wow. Allan Dershowitz, you know, they had a commentator on MSDNC, the Conspiracy Theory Channel, Area 51, Roswell, Rachel Maddow's channel. Harvard must be embarrassed. I bet Harvard's pretty proud tonight. Compelling arguments. Andy Biggs, your reaction to all of that. And I want to replay this Bolton tape in a second.
Yeah, I thought Allan Dershowitz did an excellent job there, because what he's talking about is the Democrats' position ultimately comes down to this. You can't investigate a political opponent for criminal conduct, because if you do, somehow that's violative of due process, that's violative, and it becomes bribery or extortion or some kind of high crime or misdemeanor. The reality is, and the point that Mr. Dershowitz just made, which is so good, is that you can't contextualize it that way. If someone has committed a corrupt act, they're not above the law. And so you're entitled to investigate. That's what the president was talking about. And just because he's running for election himself does not make it impermissible to seek and to investigate criminal conduct on the part of corrupt people just because they're running for office. That's a great argument.
Last word, Devin, we have to roll on here.
Well, real quick, Sean, I would say that the Democrats are going to need a long, long period of rehabilitation and re-education. And what you saw there tonight on the floor with Allan Dershowitz is the beginning of that re-education.
What great, phenomenal job. This was a beatdown today. And all right, so